Hey, vintage lovers, if you're looking for one-of-a-kind, curated designer pieces that scream style and sophistication, then look no further than Funny Girl Vintage, your go-to destination for curated, high-quality vintage fashion that will have you looking and feeling fabulous. At Funny Girl Vintage, they don't just find great pieces, they curate them with an eye for detail and a passion for unique designer finds. From iconic designer labels to timeless classics, their collection is like a treasure trove of vintage glam. Check out their website, Funny Girl Vintage, or stop by their showroom on Melrose Avenue and get one-on-one style consultation. And guess what? As a special treat for our podcast listeners, you can get 10% off your first order when you sign up using the code NiGHT. That's NiGHT. That's right. Just use code NiGHT at checkout and enjoy a sickening discount on your first purchase. And we thank Funny Girl Vintage for sponsoring this first episode.
Thank you, Funny Girl.
Thank you, Funny Girl. And we're all wearing pieces from Funny Girl.
All I ever want is to look like Jean Triplehorn in Basic Instinct. So
you
honestly serve that on a regular basis.
I do.
Yeah.
It's my favorite aesthetic is like the woman who's slowly unraveling during like an 80s, 90s thriller.
She's a great blazer.
Amazing blazer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's the best vibe.
Yeah.
She's being gaslit. She's losing her mind.
My timer, it's fine. Birth control. Well, I don't need that.
Go get it.
That's fine. No,
Okay.
I want to roll the dice. Like I said,
Okay.
I might be infertile, so I'd really like to just test it out. I'd like to
why
test
not?
theories. Yeah.
Live on the edge. Live a little, you know?
So how did we all meet? That's what I want to kick this off by asking.
Well, if we want to go chronologically, we met when you were in high school.
Yeah.
I was out of high school and
Yeah.
like being a bad influence.
And
I
I've
guess.
never told you this,
Actually,
but I
you
was
guys were worse than
terrified
me.
of you. I was
Really?
terrified of you.
Wait, is there an age gap between you?
Yeah, I'm 27.
Age gap friendship.
Age gap friendship.
27, 29.
Yeah. I was terrified of you when I first met you because I thought I was like, she's so cool. Like, cause this was also your era.
Really?
This was also your era where you were like going out with Madison a lot.
Yeah, and we were going to like Bootsy Bellows
Yeah.
or like One Oak.
Yeah, and I was like, when I would go there with the promoters, they'd be like, okay, little girl, you can keep this seat warm until the Slovakian models come in, and then you'll need to move elsewhere in your bandage dress.
You were also 16.
Yeah, I was also fully 16.
16 in the club.
Yeah, 16 in a club. They gave me a fake ID for an Asian girl. Like that. And they were
Yeah,
like,
they would hand them to you at the door. You probably
Shout
did
out
this.
to ethnic ambiguity.
Yeah, shout out ethnic ambiguity.
I mean, the doormen didn't care. They were like,
no,
whatever these men want.
Yeah. Keep the seat warm for the Slovakian models, and then by midnight you'll need to move, little one.
That's crazy.
That's the pipeline. But yeah, no, I was terrified of you. I was terrified of you when I first met, and
That's
then
crazy because I was the most insecure person in the world at that time in my life.
Really?
Yeah,
I'm shocked. You've
Yeah.
never been the type of person though who like reads as that though. Like you are
Okay,
one of those people
good.
who is like so like, for lack of a better term, like fake it till you make it, like
Yeah.
type. Like I would have
True.
never read insecurity off you.
Oh yeah.
At that time.
Was I blonde or brunette when you met me?
I think you were brunette.
Okay.
I think
I
you
was
were-
like 18, 19.
Yeah, you were 18, 19, and we met through one of our really good friends,
Yes.
Sophia, and then we just have hit it off.
Yeah.
And then now we've introduced Alana into the crew, which
Yeah.
has felt incredibly seamless.
It has felt very seamless. It's really nice.
And you have a book coming out.
I do have a book coming out. This is true. It's a romance novel. Comes out in November. It's very personal to me. I'm very excited about it. Not so excited about everybody I know reading what I think is sexy on the page, reading all the fingering I wrote into the book. But other than that, I'm very excited.
How do you? I actually had a question about this because we were talking about this the other night. How do you find? Because there's so much of a like repetitive language, not intentionally, but like you have to use so many of the same terminology when describing sex. Like how do you find other? I mean, besides like
keep it like nuanced.
Yeah, how do you is it just thesaurus.com to find another way for like say bulge?
Yes.
Like
yes, it's that, and also I honestly listen to a lot of audiobooks of other romance novels.
Yeah, that's smart.
And I started to notice that there's like every author kind of had their own like specific lingo around what they referred to different body parts. So I kind of I borrowed some of that Some things though like give me like a visceral reaction.
Yeah.
Like
Like
what?
like Bulge, for example,
Yeah.
gives
Can't
me like
do
a
it.
visceral reaction.
Yeah. Of like no or like,
of like
yeah.
no.
Okay.
And it's very different from other writing because I feel like in other writing, there's like different parts of your brain that I feel like you read a line and you go, oh yeah, that's good. But with it's so much more like a body feeling
Yeah.
when you read
Mhm.
something that doesn't like I don't
Yeah,
know. It's
it's,
like
like,
it's so
intimate.
different because it's
Yeah.
literally like you're trying to write what's sexy.
Yeah.
Yes.
And if it's wrong, it's like really wrong.
Yeah.
And there was like many times where I was like cringing. I was like, no, that's not it. That's not it. It's not hot.
Backspace.
Yeah, but that was the most nerve-wracking part for
Yeah.
sure. And there was sort of the option of writing, there's in romance, you either do like fade to black, like the door closes or whatever,
Right.
or you
Yeah.
write sex on the page.
Yeah.
Leave it to their
And I was
imagination.
like flirting with, one or the other. And then I ended up sitting down one day and writing like 2,000 words of sex and was like, well, I guess
I guess I got a knack
guess
for
they're
this.
going that way. But then it was really hard editing because I was like, I'm not even very prudish, but it's like the marriage of like what I think is sexy with what I think is good writing was like a very difficult thing for me to get
Yeah.
into.
That's really interesting.
It's kind of a sweet spot.
Yeah,
It really is.
because typically I'm actually very confident with my writing. It's like the one area where I go into like a little megalomania and I'm like, I am a golden god. If someone
Hear my
criticizes my
words.
writing, I'm like, you're wrong. You're just wrong. But it's like with what's sexy, there's a lot more insecurity
Yeah,
there. So it was
definitely.
like challenging my writer's. That's also why I write under a pseudonym, is so I can have this like braggadocious kind of like
Yeah.
like.
Yeah.
I think you kind of have to. You have to be a
Alter
little delulu
ego.
to do anything. So
yeah,
it's,
I think anybody who does any sort of art or like performance, if you will, through any medium, like you bring an essence of yourself out and
Yeah.
forward. It's not
Yeah.
the totality of you. Like I know for stand up for me, like who you see on stage like is similar and is a part of my personality, but like there's so much more nuance and like kindness and love that I think
Yeah, you're leaning into a side of yourself and you're like kind of creating an alternate persona. I
Yeah.
think that's
Yeah.
how like it's not like it's not you, but it's
yeah.
not fully you.
Yes.
yeah, it's not fully
And
you.
but then that's where the sexual element makes it feels so much more personal,
Of course.
because it's anytime you're reading something where someone wrote sex, you're assuming they're drawing from personal experience, personal
Yeah.
feelings.
And you're
Yeah.
hot, so I'm sure that also like plays into it because like
Well, thank
because
you.
like I know there are some romance novels. I've like looked them up. I've been like, oh god, like this is your experience. Oh, fuck, no, God, I don't want to think about this. Jesus Christ, like.
Thank you
Now
so
that
much.
I'm gonna
I'm
read your
so
book
glad.
and
But
imagine
yeah,
you having
I was like,
sex.
Wow, amazing. Keep making
And
me
not that it
cry.
really matters to me, but now that you've mentioned it, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. You do think about like that the author is pulling from their experience.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. So it definitely adds a nerve-wracking personal element.
Yeah.
And it's also interesting because I wrote the character is described to look similar, not the same. And I was like feeling weird about that at first, but then I
Yeah.
realized I realized that like every book I've ever read by like a white author, that's what they do. They
Yeah.
write a white character. So I don't know why I was like, oh no, she's black. Everyone's gonna think it's me. It's like, what?
No.
But like, no.
But I
no,
also think
no.
too, like there is such a, and I think we've talked about this too. Like there's such a chasm within romance novels of like leading women of color. Like there
Yeah.
aren't many.
Yeah, it's true.
There aren't many of them out there. I know there was one series that I read because I'm a big romance like.
Are you? I
yeah.
didn't even know
didn't
this.
even
I
know
mean,
this either.
yeah, like when I read, like let's not act like I'm some sort of fucking literary, nut job here. Like, not that reading makes you a nut job, but
it does kind
It
of.
does kind
It does.
of.
Reading
Yeah.
makes
You can be
crazy.
overread for
Yeah,
sure. You can
definitely.
be overeducated, overread.
Yeah.
I stand by that.
I am neither of those things. But when I do read it is romance novels because when I'm reading, like I want to escape, and like
Yeah.
that is the I don't want to read. I've read nonfiction before, but I don't want to be here in reality. Like I'm here too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
That as a comic, like I'm constantly observing. Like please get me out of my head
Yeah.
when I'm reading.
yeah.
And it was interesting to see because it definitely does too as a reader. When you're reading, like I'm biracial, so like when you are reading a story with a woman of color leading it, you do put yourself, I think, in that position or through that lens a little bit more than when I've read romance novels with a white woman as the narrator.
Yes, I 100% agree. Well, I think it's sort of like, I think it's a particular experience of, I think all people of color, a lot of the times when it comes to art, is like getting used to essentially treating a lot of art like paper dolls. Like you have to cut off the head and put your own head on it in order to like experience yourself within it.
Right.
And I think because there is so much in all of those areas where like there are like white protagonists, I think that like it's a strange thing as like a Black writer, because it's like I almost worry. I worry about like breaking that mold. Like, oh no, are white women going to be able to cut the head off the paper doll and stick her head on there? But it's true that I think like as a person of color, you do that. You have to do that kind of with everything.
Yeah,
you know,
through a lot of different aspects of life. That's so interesting. Well, I'm so excited for it to come out. It's called Hardly Strangers. When's the release? Can we say the release date? November.
It comes out in November.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna bring my other topics up.
Yeah, bring them.
Okay. Okay. What movie or TV character was the pinnacle of hotness to you as a child?
Oh. Ooh. Movie or TV character?
Movie or TV character can be cartoon or otherwise.
What's yours?
Tim Curry in every single thing ever. I fell in love with Tim Curry.
I knew it was going to be some like kind of like
Tim Curry
freaky shit, but
I
did not know it would be Tim Curry.
I don't know what it was.
But I feel you.
I don't know what it was.
I completely feel.
Tim Curry as Long John Silver in Muppet Treasure Island was the first
What?
stirring. Okay, well now he's not well. Look at him young.
Look at
Rocky Horror Picture Show.
He has like.
But I wasn't even into him in Rocky Horror Picture Show. Actually,
really?
No, that wasn't even what it was. I didn't see Rocky Horror till I was like an adult.
I don't even know this guy.
It was Muppet Treasure Island.
Muppet Treasure.
It was also him.
I've never seen that
as the pollution smog monster in Fern Gully. I'm very auditory. It was his voice. He played a
Fern Gully's animated.
It's
right?
animated,
Yeah.
but he played this pollution smog monster. It was this big black smog monster that had like abs, and it was like his voice. Very into that. And then also Tim Curry as literally the devil in Legend.
I haven't seen any of these movies.
Again, I'm like, he's
what?
all red and he's jacked. I don't see color. He's all red, he's jacked, and he has horns. And
okay, I get that.
I was like, I feel weird watching it. I was just like, my tummy feels weird. But it was
attraction.
Tim Curry being your sexual awakening is
like 1,000%.
is so on brand.
Yeah,
in a way that I couldn't have
sense.
even put into words, but it just makes sense.
Yeah,
this is what I love about you. It's not Zac Efron. It's not Brad Pitt. It is like the off the beaten path English actor who played a smog monster.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's a level of relatability that I can't quantify.
I'm the people's princess at the end of the day. So I live to serve.
What was yours?
Oh, this might be really cliche, but a name you don't hear a lot anymore, Hayden Christensen.
I was going to guess Chase Crawford for you.
Oh, really?
I don't know why.
Side note, I messaged Chase Crawford on an app that celebrities use because I don't want to get banned. So you can't match, if you're not matched, like you can't chat, but you do have like a select amount of like direct messages. And I was like, this man's
Force your way into those DMs,
yeah,
baby.
I forced my way into those DMs. So I went, fuck, marry, kill, Saddam Hussein, Kim Jong-un, Ghislaine Maxwell. No response.
That's a really good fuck, marry, kill.
Thank you.
We
and
were
I gave
workshopping it for like 20 minutes. We were like, you need to send the perfect thing to him.
Yeah.
But he's an actor. He was probably like Kim Jong-who, like, you know.
Yeah. When I was on the dating apps, I always messaged, looking back, I messaged every man like a hello milady guy. You know, like a guy in like a fedora who like comes over and is like, hello milady. Like I messaged every guy and I was like, I hope you're having a wonderful evening. I can tell from your pictures that you really enjoy cinema. So do I. Like I literally, it's
the
like
autism
a crazy.
opener.
Yeah, no, truly. It was like I messaged people in the craziest ways. It was like super verbose. They'd be like, "Not much. How are you?" And I'd be like, "Well, I'm swell today. I had a fabulous day at work, and now I'm settling in with a nice cup of tea." Like it was like, "What are you talking about? What are you saying?"
Did you have a lot of success? Because
yes.
I feel like you're so beautiful that men are just like,
thank you.
Okay,
no,
well.
honestly, I really enjoyed apps because I really love texting.
Yeah.
Because I'm a writer. It's where I think I do my best. I love texting. I don't understand people that say, in terms of like dating and romance, it's kind of annoying to keep up with things on like a day-to-day basis. But like in dating and romance, I love texting. And people are always like, oh, I hate texting. Like, I'll just pick up the phone. I'm amazing texting.
Same.
I can sit there and think, and I'm funny, and I have elaborate stories.
You're a great texter.
Yeah.
You
Both
also
of you
too,
are.
I feel like when you're talking to a guy, the way that they text and the way that they write is like such an indication of
True.
chemistry and getting an insight into who the person is and the way that they think. And if you're attracted, I
Yeah.
think as a woman, to a way a man thinks, it's a game changer. Like that is, I think, such a key. For some women, I think some women can be more superficial, which, you know, Slay Queen, I can tend towards that way too. But if a guy can get me like seduced by the way that they think and make me laugh,
Yeah.
and particularly through text.
I think you can tell a lot about how your chemistry. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like how
because you're
you'll
giving someone
actually-
all this time in the world, essentially, to like.
Yes.
So you're asking for their very best.
Right.
So it is kind of, it's almost like a test. It's like
Mhm.
you have the space, you don't have to immediately respond. So like, give me your best shot.
Yeah.
I love
You
when
know?
someone's good at texting. When you first start
Yeah.
texting a guy and he's like, if there's like a banter
Yeah.
right away,
Yes.
there's nothing more exciting.
There's
than
nothing
that.
more exciting.
Truly.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
That tends to be also the
Yeah.
I've found the ones that I've fallen for the hardest. I have that like witty rapport
Yeah.
with
Yes.
on text.
Totally.
Yeah. Witty.
Yeah.
We love a witty
You got
rapport.
to.
You gotta
Yeah.
have a witty rapport.
Yeah.
It's so
Yeah.
funny that you thought Chase Crawford, because at the beginning of Gossip Girl, yes, that was my number one, but it immediately went over to Dan. Like almost immediately. Because I was like, I love like a sad
Incel.
incel, school shooter vibes, like
Yeah.
quiet.
Yeah.
I also like the quiet ones. My first boyfriend ever was very like Christian Slater in the Heathers.
Oh,
My mom
love.
said, my
So
mom,
hot.
the first time she met him, she goes, oh, he's literally Christian Slater in the Heathers. And he also talked a lot about like hating everybody. And she was like, okay. He's very sweet. But wait, who was yours?
Well, there was, I mean, okay, so the first like sexual awakening was 100% Justin Timberlake and NSYNC with that ramen noodle hair. Yeah, no, I was like,
You were obsessed?
Yeah, I was obsessed. And then I became Zac Efron in High School Musical.
Interesting.
Like I present as a very like hard, tough bitch, like, but I actually tend towards these like basic
pretty boys.
pretty boys.
Yeah.
Well, it's changed now that I'm older. Like now I like a big schnoz and like, you know, I like him to be a little
schnoz,
nothing
honestly.
like a schnoz.
Yeah.
I like him to be a
agree.
little bit more
I agree.
quirky. I tend towards like I think more like weirdo, like, you know, like guys who walk into a room and they're
Yeah.
like just freaks.
Yeah.
Like,
Someone who can
like a-
match the
yeah.
freak.
someone who can match my freak, exactly.
Someone who's somewhat creature-like.
Creature-like,
Yeah.
exactly. Which
Just a
brings me to
little
my
bit-
next
a little
point
bit
about facial
creature-like.
blindness. Alana
yeah.
suffers from a condition that honestly I think was the foundation of us bonding, was facial blindness.
Facial blindness.
So I had this experience with this guy who Alana knows through her boyfriend, and me and this guy had just a really tumultuous experience with one another, and he's a weasel and a moron, but besides the point. And he keeps showing up like a case of fucking genital herpes we can't get rid of. But anyways, so I told Alana, as Alana and I were getting closer, I knew that her boyfriend knew him and was friends with him, and I was like, hey Alana, just like FYI, like me and this guy have some history, like. And I show her a photo of him on Instagram. I'm like, this is him, like.
And I said, I have never seen this man before in my life.
And then we show up to a screening, and she goes, come here, sit down. And facial blindness is sitting right next to her.
The guy
And
is,
she-
we're calling him
And
facial
she looks
blindness.
at me and she keeps walking, and I go, huh, what's that about?
Why didn't they sit with us? Why didn't he move
Understand.
over?
I don't get it. What's
And I
going on?
approach you after and I go, Alana, that's facial blindness. That's him. And you were like, oh my God, it's happened again.
Mm-hmm. This is an issue that's followed me all my life. And we were breaking it down the other day. I'm not one of those people where the information goes in one ear and out the other, where like you tell me your life story and then I just like forget it. And then the next time you see me, you're like, no, that's the person. I
No.
take it all in. But
Yeah.
what I do is these become two separate people. And one is the 2-dimensional version on Instagram with no body, because I
Just
didn't
a
see
floating
it. How was I
head.
supposed to know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't know he had legs and feet.
No.
Yeah.
Without seeing that. And then the other is the real person in real
Right.
life. So I create these separate relationships, these separate worlds
Yeah.
in the 2D and the 3D, and they become different people. But it's gotten me into trouble, and I do it all the time,
You
the
do.
time.
It's It's funny though. It's really
It's
funny.
so funny.
It can be.
really
It can
funny.
be. Yeah.
Because last night we were talking and I went and I said, oh, like Alex Cooper. And you looked at me, you go, oh, is that his name? And I was like, Alana, Alex Cooper is a podcaster. And you go, I've done it again.
I have done it
This
again.
guy's name is not Alex.
It's
Oh,
not
no,
Alex.
It's
No,
not
it's not Alex. No.
I have done it. I have done it.
I've done it
I
again.
have done it again. I've done it again. I am a very, very loyal person. Deeply, deeply loyal.
You were able to recount. I remember too when I told you at Delicious Pizza that was him. You were able to recount anecdotes from the story that I told you in
Yes.
that moment, and I was like, "Oh no, she remembers."
Oh, you remember all the
remembered.
yeah,
details.
you
I
remember
was.
all the details.
But those were two separate. They were different people. The man that I was sitting next to was not the man
whose body, as you
that I had seen on Instagram.
stiffened,
Whose body stiffened beside me and imperceptibly, and I was like, "That's interesting."
as you
What's
beckoned
going
me
on?
over.
You're like,
Yeah.
girls, come on.
Yeah, I just it's I think it's hereditary. My mother suffers from the same thing. She the defense she always gave was that she would say Brad Pitt has the same thing. So we started calling it her Pitt's disease. Because Brad Pitt apparently has like a facial blindness issue.
That sucks. I
And,
met him. Guess he won't remember me.
He'll never remember you.
Never
But my
remember.
mom would always say like me and Brad Pitt, we have this issue. So it's her Pitt's disease. And now I've developed Pitt's disease as well. But it's
There's no cure yet.
There's no cure.
There's no cure yet. But it's pretty alarming.
It's so
um,
funny though.
The worst one that ever happened to this day shocks me that this happened, but I was at that restaurant Takes whatever in Echo
Mhm.
Park, and this girl came over to me and she walked over and she was like, "Oh my God, hey Alana, like how's it going?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm good." Fabulous. Yeah. And then she's like, and she's asking me like, how's Alexis, like my best friend? And I'm like, oh, Alexis is good.
You're
We
like,
know
clue.
Alexis. Yeah, literally. I'm like,
Yeah.
clue number one.
Yeah.
We have met before.
Yeah.
She knows my life. And we're going on. And then she, she's like, I'll see you around or whatever. And she walks away. And I was like, that was crazy. Like, I have no idea who that person is. So a couple days later, I'm at Pho Cafe in Echo Park as well. And I'm with a friend. And I'm sitting there and I'm talking about my facial blindness issue. And I'm talking about this interaction I had. And I'm like, yeah, it was crazy. This girl ran up to me and was talking to me at Takes and like blah, 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 blah. Like totally like such a trip. And I don't know who she was. And I don't know where we met. And then there was this couple sitting next to me and the girl leaned over and she was like, oh, what did you get? And I was like, oh, it's a vegetarian pho. And she was like, oh, it looks great. Also, I'm just so you know, like that was me last night.
He didn't even notice. She was right there.
No idea.
She was
And you know what the
right
worst part is?
there.
If this woman appeared to me right now, I would have no idea. I would have no idea. You would think that in that moment, my fight or flight would kick in and I go, memorize this woman's
No.
face.
You just
No.
forgot it more.
I forgot it even more. The shame clouded my memory. I have no idea. It could be either of you. This
Alana.
whole setup could be an elaborate prank to expose me for my
Bring her
facial
out!
blindness.
It was me.
Yeah.
It was me. I'm right here. Right here.
It's the craziest thing ever. It's like, and I don't know how to make it like how to memorize people better, but it's like I don't know what it is. It's like a social awkwardness or something.
I
don't
struggle
know
with a little of it. Mine is not as bad as yours. No offense.
Yeah.
This is
This isn't about as your her terminal.
It would be
pit disease.
funnier,
Yeah.
honestly, in my life if it was.
Yeah.
Mine
Yeah.
is just kind of like, it takes me a minute, so I seem like a bitch for a second.
Well, that's the problem. People think I'm a bitch too, because in LA, it's almost like
I
a
am a
social
bitch,
currency
but-
to pretend not to know people.
Oh, people do
because
that to
you
me all
walk,
the time.
people
Yeah.
walk. It's like you fully know someone knows you, and you walk over and they're like, "Hi, who are you?"
What's
and
your name?
it literally
Yeah.
is like a
Or
social
they introduce
thing.
themselves.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you're like,
So what I
we've
do
met.
now to cope, which is it's never good, but it's like somebody will come over and I just go, if I don't know if I've met them before or if I'm seeing them again, I just go, hello. And then I wait to see if they go, nice to meet you, or if they say, how are you? Good to see you again.
Yes.
But there's been these moments where I think that the other person is also having that experience. So it's just I've been in groups of people where I'm like, good to see you today or again.
Good to see
Hello.
you is a safe bet.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
to see you.
Because
Yeah.
it could be like the first time you're meeting. People have said that to me the first time we meet.
It still
but it
reads a little
always
bit like
feels like,
I don't
yeah.
remember. Like if it's
Yeah.
good to see you and you had never met them before, it reads as I was unsure.
Yeah, that's
It
true.
does. If someone says good to see you, and I've never, I mean, I'm not the person to say, and I've never met them before because maybe I have.
Yeah.
Maybe we've dated.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
LA is also really hard because you'll walk down the street or you'll like go to a popular cafe
Yeah.
and you'll see like actors, influencers, all these people that you've
Don't
seen.
get me
You're not
started
seeing
on
anyone.
actors.
Oh,
I have fully said, where do I know you from?
yeah, we've met.
We've met before. Good to see you.
Never mind. It was on TV and I
Yeah.
was watching you.
Never mind. We have a parasocial relationship.
Yeah.
I'm an erotomaniac, and I
I'm
thought I
obsessed
knew
with
you.
your character.
Actors freak me out. I'm not even gonna lie.
I've
I live
never
with 2
dated
of
an
them. My
actor.
parents are actors. I don't trust them.
yeah.
You're basically you're liars.
Yeah.
You're liars.
Yeah, you're liars.
Female
paid for
actors are
liars.
different than male actors, I will say.
Y'all fall in the same bucket for me.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Sorry.
It's okay.
Sorry.
Sorry.
I
It's
love
okay.
you.
Honestly, true.
Yeah.
But to your credit, though, it is why I know I can bring you into any social situation, and you will.
Because I can act.
You can act.
Yeah.
I
Just
have
act.
no fear
I'm
about
acting
bringing
right
you.
now.
Make it till you make it, babe. Like I said, it's your brand. But like, I can bring you into any social situation. I brought you around comics and stuff, and you come to all my shows.
Yeah,
'cause
I
you're-
pretend to like comics.
Yeah, you
Just
pretend to
kidding.
like my act after seeing it for 700
I
fucking
love your
times.
act. That's
Thank
not
you.
acting.
Thank you, but we get it.
That's breaking character to
Yeah.
be myself
Yeah.
and enjoy your
Yeah.
set.
I'm so lucky to have such supportive friends.
Yeah.
Especially to when you're up and coming as a stand-up and stuff. You go to
When
You're-
you're
you're-
famous.
I
My
love
book.
stand up so much. I love stand up. Like I will watch 12 hours of stand up
It's all I
where
consume.
3 of the acts are good.
Really?
And oh my god, I just love being
watch
there.
that much.
I love the room. I love the
Oh,
environment.
like in person, you mean?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
in person.
Oh,
there's
same.
something about, as I've done it more, there's something about this shared experience. And I think back in the day when social media wasn't so prevalent, like movie theaters and things like that, where you kind of could get akin to what I'm talking about. But now stand-up is one of like the only art forms left where you have it is so dependent on being a live performance.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And so the energy in the room and the give and take of you're all having this collective experience together, and you're all vibrating on the same wavelength. And sometimes that wavelength is terrible. Like sometimes that wavelength is you are watching somebody horrifically bomb, and you are collectively trauma bonding in an audience together.
Yes, but that's like good for the context of like the good people, you
Oh,
know?
yeah,
I
of
feel like
course.
there
That's part
needs
of the
to
give
be
and
people
take.
who
Yeah.
bomb.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Everyone also needs to bomb as
Everyone
a comic,
needs
I'm
to
sure.
bomb. Oh, I have to tell you about I have a funny bomb story. So, this was one of my early performances when I had just started doing stand up. I was booked on a show at this venue called the
Oh. Oh yeah, that
Keita's
place.
laughing in the back. I got on
That
stage.
place is weird.
Total fucking dumb.
Yeah, that place. Yeah, I
Wait,
get on
can-
stage
tell
and I go like, thank you guys for coming to Snow White's rape cabin. Like, like I'm so like, thank you for all like coming to this fucking dive. Like,
It's
it is
crazy.
truly, it is. You go there and you get your reps. And like for any comedian coming up, like the one thing that I will say that I fucking hate when comedians do is they talk about this experience of being an up and comer with such like level of like hatred and like, shitting on it. Like these are also where your best memories are made, and you're cutting your
Totally.
teeth
You
and you're
have
figuring
to.
out who you are. So if you get booked show, I pray for you, but know that you're becoming a better comic. And so I had a show there, and I was booked on a lineup that I didn't know was an urban show. And for those of you who don't know what an urban show, it's a show with primarily black comics catered for a black
they call
audience.
it an urban show.
They call it an urban show. Yes, they call it an urban show.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's nuts.
is this
wild.
is this a semi-urban show because I'm here?
It's biracial. It's a biracial show.
I like that.
So I get booked on the show, and I'm like, this is probably maybe like my second or third performance. And I go up, and my act is still in its infancy, and I'm doing a much more like darker, harder, edgier thing. I bomb. I mean, it is like pin drop silence. I get off stage. The host goes, "Give it up for Jesse Zand," and this older black woman in the front row just goes, "No." And he goes, "What? You didn't like Wednesday Addams?" She goes, "Not at all."
Well,
and yet you persisted.
yeah.
But I will never forget that, because that was and I came home and I was like, oh my God, that hurt my soul. Oh my God. And then I live with my parents. I live with my actor parents, and I was recounting this story to them. And I tell my dad this, and I'm like burgeoning on tears right now. And my dad just looks at me and he just goes, "That's fucking hilarious." Like, and he just completely cuts and he just starts laughing at me crying about this horrific story. And in that moment, it cut all of the serious and like pain out of it. And I was able to see the humor in it. And now it's one of my favorite stories.
You have to flop.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have to flop. That's what
Le
I learned in
flop.
clown
Yeah.
school. Le flop.
Oh, yes, you did clown
Yeah.
school. Please tell us about your
Tell
experience
us
at clown
about
school.
Oh
clown
God,
school.
I mean, I graduated. I got my certificate.
This is one of the things that is, I just briefly, like, one of my favorite things about you is like, you were talking earlier about like the confidence thing.
Yes.
And at your you are like so blindly confident in like a crazy way. Like watching you, like in Paris, for example, I was so anxious just being an American, like not speaking French. Anytime I communicate with anybody, I'm like, "Hi, sorry, could I get a coffee?" Sorry. Like just apologizing for my existence. And not even in an arrogant American way, but you just had like zero qualms.
Yeah.
I was like, couldn't even make my own birthday reservations
Oh yeah,
because I was
think
so
made
anxious
them.
about calling. My boyfriend refuses to speak French because he hates me. And so
Yeah,
I literally
he speaks way
speaks
better
fluent
French than me.
French.
I
But-
speak this much French.
But
Yeah.
she literally, oh, I got it. And she's like, "Hello, do you speak English?" Fabulous. Okay, so it was like you turn into like Samantha from Sex and the City, like you're doing
Yeah.
PR. But
Yeah.
you do this everywhere, and
you
it's
have to
so
stand
inspiring.
up to French people too, though. Specifically,
No, but
like
but you do it everywhere. Like
Yeah.
even
Thank you.
watching her haggle, like
at the French flea.
at the French flea market, watching her haggle, I was like, oh my god, like
That's all acting. I swear. I had just come out of clown school too, so I was probably feeling like,
Yeah.
especially
but
like
you were telling me these stories about clown school and how literally just it was like just being like
Break it down,
brutalized
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
every day.
bullied.
Break
And you were
down.
just like, "Yeah, I'm going back tomorrow." I was like, I would die.
Yeah.
I would truly die.
I love that though. I think that is why like truly I was meant to act in this lifetime because I love rejection. I love being not by men. This is like not
Yeah, yeah,
has
yeah.
to do with
Yeah.
relationships. That biggest fear. I'm avoidant.
Yeah.
For that reason. But I think I really like being critiqued. But I think so clown school, you walk in and they're just basically like nobody wants to laugh at you. The teacher sits there with like a gong, I guess, or a drum, and you get up, at the beginning you don't have anything. You don't have a red nose, you don't have a costume, you don't have anything.
No red nose.
You don't have a red nose. And you have to just like be funny. Like they give you no direction at first.
And
They
it's
kind of
physical
loosely-
comedy, right?
Yeah, mostly, but you can talk. It's like kind of like improv, but
Okay.
it's really more, physical.
Yeah.
And
I looked into it and it's such an abstract, strange
it's so
art.
abstract. Like
Yeah.
it's
I
really
started
not it
sweating just reading
confuses
about
me.
it because I was imagining you being there, and I got like I schwitzed a bit. Like I was like, oh my god, I can't imagine.
It is abstract, and I think that's why it's so difficult because you really don't like know you've got it until the second it clicks and people are laughing.
And you
And
don't
you're
even
like-
know why.
And you
You're
don't
like,
even know why. And then you try to redo it. And they even tell you, they're like, you can try to repeat what you did. Sometimes it works. Sometimes they don't laugh again.
It's gotta
You're
like stand up.
okay. Yeah.
yeah.
It's so hard. You literally you're told you're a flop. They use that word specifically. I'm not just like bringing that into
Yeah.
the vocabulary. They love to be the 80-year-old French clown teacher was like, flop, bang the drum, flop.
Wait, what did you get called?
Oh, a whore.
A whore. Yeah.
in French. And it was funny. It was this exercise. It was the last day of class. And the old ancient man, French teacher, he actually is a genius.
This was like
Insane.
this is a prestigious clown school.
Oh,
Like we're not
he's-
just
yeah.
saying you went to Party City
He's-
and found some guy.
He was trained by Jacques Lecoq. If you know who that is. I think that's his name. Very iconic clown from before.
I've never understood something less, but been like more
Yeah.
intrigued.
Yeah.
I don't even feel like I understand.
Yeah.
it. Oh, but back to the slut thing. We're doing this exercise where we're all in our costumes. It's the last day. We all have to stand at the back of the class, and everyone just like on their own, like can step forward, and you the goal is to get to the teacher who's in
Yeah.
the front with the rest of the audience.
Yeah.
And you start walking, and like you have to do something to move forward, and if he says flop, like you have to go back to your seat. So everyone starts at the back and like works our way forward, or maybe if it's really bad, you have to go back to your seat. But if it's like kind of bad, you have to go back to the back of the wall and start over, and you're just trying to inch your way forward. So I'm like not doing anything and like walking forward.
And
just trying to,
are
like,
there people
cheat,
like
basically.
crawling?
Oh
Like,
yeah, people.
like,
This woman
yeah.
like used a fake poop, and like it was so not funny. It's really hard to make the
Flop.
fake poop
Flop.
funny. Like, just so you got, like,
Really?
toilet humor is actually very hard in clown to be
Interesting.
funny. It flops very often. But anyway, I just did like a little like flirty thing, and the ancient clown was like, he was like, flop, too much poot. And I was like, what? And this Argentinian professional Cirque du Soleil clown who was in my class was like puta. And I was like, oh, okay. He just called me a whore. Too much whore. But he was right, because like the sexy thing doesn't work for a clown. You
Yeah.
can't be sexy. I learned a lot about that, and like how to kind of like shut that off. That's one of the biggest takeaways I got from clown school was like
Yeah.
flirtation, and
Yeah.
like just leave it behind. Don't worry about how you look.
Yeah.
Don't worry about beauty. Leave it all.
Well, it's interesting because I think in comedy in general, like, I think that I will say that the instinct to hide behind sex
Yep.
sometimes
Yep.
is like,
Totally. That's
I feel
what I
like
was trying.
there was maybe a time when I thought that stuff was really funny, but like now sometimes even going to see stand up,
Yeah.
if there is a female comic who's going super, super overtly, almost in a way that feels like trying to compete with like the bluest male comic.
Yeah.
Ugh, yeah.
It just kind of like I cringe a bit because it just feels like, I don't want to say lazy, feels like kind of harsh, but it just it feels like
Hack.
a bit
Mhm.
flop.
Yeah. Flop.
Flop.
It's a
Flop.
flop.
Yeah, flop.
I think also too, it's not shocking anymore.
It's not.
No,
It's not
nothing's
shocking. We're
you have to be
so-
smart.
We're
Yeah.
so porn riddled within this country and society that it's like when a woman goes up there and is so leaning so heavily into sex. And look, there are famous comedians out there who do it and have made a career doing it, and I completely respect them for paving the way so that it can now be something that we don't even have to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Like I
Yeah.
think you look at Joan Rivers, who was doing a lot of like back in the 50s, 60s.
60s.
So yeah,
Love
love,
her.
slay,
Love.
icon, absolute hero.
I
Like
hope she haunts us in this studio.
I 100%
for
hope
the
she
rest
haunts
of
us.
this. If you get her on the monitor, let us know.
Let us know. Yeah.
We're waiting for you, Joan.
We're waiting for you, Joan. Tell me that my outfit looks ugly. But there were comedians like that who paved the way so that now it's not even something that we have to address, right?
Yeah.
Like there
Yeah.
are so many other topics that we can address and talk about and be seen, because I think for a long time too, like that talking about sex in that way was calling out the elephant in the room, in that the audience was sexualizing the woman on stage.
Totally.
Now
yeah.
we're all so sexualized anyways, and
Yeah.
and
I
it's-
want to run away from it.
Yeah,
That's how I feel, especially after clown school. It made me like,
Yeah.
and when you talk about how you don't talk about that stuff, it
validated it.
validated
Yeah.
it, and it made me realize how we really don't need.
Yeah.
Not that I would
It's
ever
just
talk about.
it's almost too easy. It's like, I don't know. I think part of like, especially as like the internet has made it very difficult, I think, to write things that are unique in
Right.
general, whether it's
Yeah.
comedy or whatever. Like unique ideas are hard to come by because we're all connected in a very different way.
I think you can talk about sex on stage. It's just got to be unique. It's got to
Yes.
be a unique take.
Yeah. And it
Almost
can't be
it can't
shock
be-
value. It
And
can't
it can't
be
be
about
shock value. No, it can't be
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, the shock value thing
Yeah.
is, I think, kind of over because it ends up just kind of going like gross out almost a lot of
Yeah.
the time.
yeah.
And it's not just female comedians who do this too, I will say.
Oh, yeah,
I've
male-
seen
oh,
some
God, I've
male
seen
comedians
bad
talk
male
about
comics
on
do it
like
too.
I can't.
My mom, in our conversation yesterday, I think I texted you guys it. My mom, I come home, my mom's like, she knows I'm doing the podcast today, and she's like,
Buckle up for this
oh,
one.
I just watched a Netflix special of this really cute gay comedian with green eyes. And I'm thinking, I'm like, I feel like I would know if there was like a gay, cool, young male comedian with green eyes. Like I would want to watch that. I don't watch a lot of stand-up. I feel like you know who
Yeah.
she's
I feel
talking
like
about.
I know who it is.
Yes!
And that was my
Not
first
right.
guess. I was like,
so,
and I'm sitting there and I go, Matt Rife? And my mom's like, yes. And I go, Mom, he's not gay. And she's like, yeah, he is. He said it in his special. Like he came out, like he's talking in his special about being gay. Did Matt Rife come out? Like, should I watch his special? I don't know what my mom watched, but
That's
she is still
amazing.
convinced. She's like, no, he's gay. I'm like, no, he's not, mom. Like, he dated a famous podcaster. Like, there are so many girls out there. Like, he's a fuck boy.
And I'll give him this. I will give him this. He is somebody who came up in the clubs. Like, people think that he was an overnight success.
No, he was an
wasn't.
urban comic.
Yeah, he was. He was at the Laugh
He was
Factory.
an urban comic. No, I swear to
in
God.
Hollywood.
The
Yeah.
craziest thing,
tracks.
the
He put
craziest
in
thing
his
about Matt
hours.
Rife's
I won't
career to
shade
me
that.
is that he was like literally an urban comic and was doing so well in that, and then just like decided he didn't want to be that, and then now his jokes
Flop.
are like, I was dating this girl who was like one of those crystal mommies, you know, like she got crystals everywhere. Like, you want to be careful of a girl who
A
like
witch?
loves astrology and got crystals. What the fuck are you talking about? It's like when you watch some of his older stuff when he was an urban
Pandering.
comic and he was like literally for black people, he was so much funnier.
Yeah.
But somebody must have told him like you need to break into the non-urban scene, and then
I don't
he
think
like
he was getting
shifted.
booked, and I think he started to post shit on TikTok. His crowd work popped off, and now he's selling on arenas. So
Yeah, true.
Slay King.
Crazy.
I mean, stop being mean to girls, but Slay King.
Yeah, it's just not
Yeah.
honestly like I love a good controversial anything.
Of
I
course.
love it. My thing is always if you make me laugh, I will laugh at absolutely anything. Like
Yeah.
Yeah.
you know, if you want to make that really really fucked up joke, like God help you, it better be funny. If it is funny, I will always give you that.
Look
I
at
will
Tim
always
Dillon.
laugh.
Tim
yeah,
Dillon
yeah.
is like the perfect example.
Tim Dillon is
that
king.
girls' night that we went to where we saw Tim was
We were
one of
laughing the loudest,
the
of anyone in
loudest,
that
with
room.
the loudest, and there was a group of girls next to us
That
Do you
were
remember?
not having a good
that
time.
were I don't know
Why were you there?
I don't know who
That's my
coerced
question.
them or sold them
You
the
paid
idea.
for these
they paid for
tickets.
these
Yeah.
tickets.
I love analyzing groups of women, especially. And
Yeah.
my sense was that it was one girl, like in the same way that like, because it was
Oh,
like
yeah.
the three of us loved Tim Dillon. We brought Sarah.
Yes.
And we were like convinced her, but I think it was
Yes.
one girl that was like, no, you guys are going to love it. Okay.
Yeah. He's
No,
so,
so
funny.
he's
My
really
boyfriend showed
funny.
me him.
You guys are going to love it. Seriously. And then they got there and she was like, oh my God. She's not laughing. Okay. It's
That's
fine.
so awkward.
Like I think
for
it was the
her.
one,
Yeah,
there
I
was like
think you're
one
right.
girl who was kind of giggling like to herself
yeah.
and the others were just stone faced. So I think it was that. I think like one
Meanwhile,
girl
I'm
convinced them.
literally in tears,
Yeah.
spilling my drink on myself. Like there is
Howling.
truly
You were
howling
howling.
with laughter.
Yeah.
Howling with laughter. But that's also so my type of humor. Like to your point, like I will laugh at literally anything. I always am like, take any swing. If it bombs, it bombs. Fuck it. It doesn't matter. Like, just swing for the rafters, because to me, that's the funniest thing is when people are
Yeah.
unafraid of what the reaction is going to be.
You can't be afraid to flop.
You can't be afraid to
Cannot
flop.
be
You
afraid to
can't
flop.
be. That's also
That's the
something
name of
I
the
learned.
episode. You can't be
You
afraid
can't
to flop.
be
Yeah.
afraid to flop
Yeah.
No, it's true.
You
It's,
should
it's
crave the
very
flop.
true.
You should crave the flop.
because
Yeah.
you need the flop to get past the flop.
Yeah. You need to
Yeah,
grow
it's
from
true.
the flop.
It's sort of the flop will harden you
Yeah,
in a
It's
way.
true.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's actually really funny though. I was just thinking about even this. How somehow this podcast has immediately turned into the Joe Rogan experience because we're analyzing the craft of comedy. So I think we should talk about martial arts next, obviously. And then experimental pharmaceuticals. I don't know.
I did do NAD. I did do an NAD treatment to combat my brain frog from COVID.
What
Brain
does
frog.
NAD
I can't even speak.
stand for?
I
again?
have to look it up.
I can't remember what the acronym is, but it's basically like it's like a regenerative,
Yeah.
like,
Have you done it too?
anti-aging. I haven't because it was very expensive.
It's so
but
expensive.
Yeah.
I love how, yeah, you're right. This did instantly turn into
Yeah.
the Joe Rogan experience with
It-
vaginas.
yeah.
Ho
yeah.
Rogan
The
experience.
whole
Yeah.
Rogan experience.
Yeah. We're hitting like the craft of comedy.
Yeah.
NAD.
The other thing we should bring up is my birthday's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
What are we doing for
Okay.
my birthday, guys?
We are going on a brand trip
Brand trip.
Brand trip.
to Palm Springs.
to Palm
We're going on a
Springs.
Tarte brand trip to Palm Springs.
Sponsored by Funny Girl Vintage.
Sponsored by
9/11.
Tarte and Funny Girl Vintage.
The working title of the trip is the 9/11 Tarte trip. Not because we're pro terrorist attacks, it's because my birthday's on 9/11.
Yeah, and like
9/11
never
Tarte
forget.
I believe Sarah got totes with 9/11 Tarte trip on it.
Yeah, we're getting hats.
We're
That's
getting
amazing.
hats. We're getting
Can there
merch.
be a dress code that's like all America?
yeah,
like
red, white,
American
and
flag,
blue.
Definitely.
red, white, and
Absolutely.
blue?
I'll bring all
Yeah.
of my Americana.
We need to bring
Yeah.
an element
Garb.
of patriotism to your birthday, and then
Absolutely.
and then we're gonna take a lot of mushrooms. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a historic amount of mushrooms.
Yeah.
Like,
Historic.
Heroic doses.
heroic
Yes.
doses.
Yeah.
And then I'm also
Timothy
hiring an
Leary mode.
astrologist. Her name
Oh,
is
yeah,
I'm
Tara.
hiring I found like a local Palm Springs astrologist.
This
who's gonna
can't go
come.
wrong.
Yeah, no.
Amazing.
This woman definitely is like used to sell Arbonne. I'm planning on taking a heroic dose of mushrooms. Like I want this woman to walk into the Palm Springs house and see all of us with our like eyeballs like wide like saucers.
And our
being
auras are, like,
read me my
floating."
tarot
Yeah.
cards.
Yeah.
I won't be able to speak. I can't speak now.
The second most memorable 9/11.
The second. It is so on brand that my birthday is on 9/11. It is true that no one ever forgets my birthday. Like it haunts me in a way, not because of just the national tragedy, but exes from all over the like timeline are like happy birthday, because like who else do you know with a birthday on 9/11?
Even my memory issue, I'm never gonna forget.
Yeah. You might forget my face, but my birthday shall remain.
Never forget.
Never forget. I'll be like, I don't know what that beautiful girl looked like, but I do know her birthday was on 9/11.
Yeah. The other the other thing I want to. So did you get a chance to watch the lesbian TikTok drama?
I did not.
Okay, we have to talk about this. Okay, so there is this, and I'll hopefully be able to stitch it in. Okay, so there is this like famous TikToker, like semi-professional basketball player named Sedona Prince, and she and her initial girlfriend on TikTok blew up because they were like the height differences. She's like 6'7", and like her girlfriend at the time was like 5'2", like this tiny little midget, and everyone was like, oh, it's so cute, and like lesbian TikTok went off and whatever. They broke up during COVID, and the girlfriend came out, Riley, with like all of these like really harrowing stories of like abuse from this girl Sedona,
from the tall one.
The tall one is
the
mean.
6'7".
The 6'7".
I'm very heightist. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
I'm not a big fan of super tall people.
Anyone over 6 foot,
Yeah.
scary.
Anyway, so they broke up. Riley, the tiny one, came out and had all of these like really harrowing, like emotionally abusive stories about their relationship and like Sedona cheating and whatever. And then it kind of got all brushed under the rug, and Sedona moved on to this other girl named Liv. And Liv just posted like a 5-part TikTok series on like what
It was more than 5 parts. It
Probably-
kept going.
yeah, it
it was
kept
like
going.
10 parts.
I forced her to watch it, and like
No, my jaw was on the floor.
Yeah.
Because I'm bad at like looking at links, but you sat me and Sarah down and put it in front of us, and we were both like,
so her
every time.
her now ex-girlfriend Liv, she was explaining the story about how they went to Mexico, and it is the single craziest story I have ever heard. So essentially, I'll just summarize it, but they go to Mexico for Sedona's birthday, and Sedona had been complaining about how Liv doesn't plan enough for her. Red flag. So Liv plans this whole trip to Mexico, to Tulum. They get there. Sedona's drinking heavily, is not happy. It's the day of her birthday, I believe, and like Liv wakes up and is like, she's like, I'm kissing on her, I'm loving on her. By the way, she repeats that in several videos after there should be no kissing or loving on based on this behavior. But she's like, she wakes up, she's like, let's have a good day, baby. And I said to Izzie,
Alana's the one who said this to me. She goes, you said once, you were like, if someone has to go, let's have a good day. Let's make today a good day.
And the relationship is over. If you have to tell your significant other, let's have a good day.
Yeah.
I've
actually seen that trending recently, like on TikTok, people talking about that thing. But it's just that there's nothing truer than that.
No. And anyway, so she proceeds to tell the story about how they were in Mexico and they get on ATVs, and Sedona is drunk driving the ATV, like swerving.
It's nighttime also.
It's nighttime in the jungle. She drives past all of the hotels into the jungle where there's jaguar crossings. She's like swerving, halts and stops, pushes her off the ATV and leaves her in the fucking forest. All of a sudden, she sees the headlights come back. Sedona turns the ATV around, drives it all the way back. And as she pulls up next to her, she acts either purposely or accidentally flips the ATV over. This girl is an athlete. Like, she's on a like D1 college basketball team. Like, she's playing with her body like she ain't got nothing to lose, but she's got a lot to lose. Like,
that's crazy.
She flips the ATV. The girl obviously, the girlfriend obviously runs over to her, is like, oh my God, are you okay? And Sedona's like, get the fuck off me. Like, this is your fault that this is happening. And luckily they're able to like flag some people down in like a truck. And
the ATV broke.
Because the ATV broke, because the bitch flipped it. And they tie the ATV up to these nice people who were offered to drive them, to tow the ATV back. The car is driving at 35 miles an hour, pulling the ATV, so they're going at a pretty fast clip. And homegirl at Sedona is like just swerving on it, and the girl's holding on, like, please stop, like, please stop, like, just please stop. She's like, and Sedona's like, we're breaking up, we're broken up. Woo, I'm single. I can't wait to find a Latina shorty. Like, going nuts. Liv flies off the ATV, and then Sedona's like, never mind, guys. You guys can go ahead. We got this taken care of. Her girlfriend at the time is like torn up It proceeds to be the most harrowing story I have ever heard. Like full of
one
like
thing after another.
one thing
Like
after
then
another.
she like on her birthday, I guess she goes to get a tattoo.
Yeah, she's
And
like, it's
also-
$50. Come over, we can get tatted. I'm like, a tattoo in Mexico that's $50 sounds like a staph infection. What are we talking about right now?
You said this. You said like the drama. This is Dateline. This is not a drama.
No,
this is
it
a
was.
crime.
She was like,
Ginger-esque.
I love you, sweetie. And okay,
Whoa.
yeah.
Ginger-esque.
Whoa.
It was
That,
she should
that
have
photo
left.
even, I feel like her height and the way a chill
Yeah.
just runs through
It
me.
There's
was
nothing worse than
crazy.
being on a trip
With somebody
with
you
someone
don't want to
who's
be with.
scary.
Yeah, you had a recent experience with that.
I did.
I
yeah.
was honestly what I was thinking is
I
I was
was-
like,
when I
that
was
sounds
watching it, I
really
was like,
familiar.
Oh,
Yeah.
I
The
literally thought I was
swerving.
gonna get murdered in Colorado.
He
and
did
left in the
say
mountain.
he did say to you, "What do you think? I'm gonna murder you?"
Yeah.
Which is not the thing to say to ever reassure a woman. I just want to say that as
Yeah.
a PSA.
Yeah.
Don't
Yeah.
ever try to reassure a woman by telling her you're
No.
not going to murder her, because that becomes immediately the first thing she thinks
Yeah.
you're going to
Yeah.
I
do.
couldn't stop thinking about it. Crazy as it
Yeah.
sounds.
And then he was like, let's just have a good day.
Yeah.
Let's just have fun tonight. I'm really drunk. Let's have fun. Yeah, he was like
Yeah.
the epitome of. He was
Yeah.
my Sedona.
Yeah, he's your
So
Sedona.
Yeah.
Liv, I get you.
I get you.
I fell off the ATV proverbially.
Yeah.
The proverbial ATV.
We've all
been-
fallen off
we've
the proverbial
all been,
ATV
yeah.
at one
I
time. or
have,
another.
there is a distinct relationship. I remember when I was a freshman in going to a freshman in college, and I was doing a long distance, which, by the way, girls, if you're listening and you are going into college, dump him. Dump your long distance boyfriend. It is not worth it. Be a whore your freshman year. It is the only time you are allowed in. I mean, you can be a whore whenever you want, but free the pussy, whatever. Free the nipple. I don't care. I do whatever you want. But when you are a freshman in college, you should have the will and the freedom to just live your best life. Do not be tied down by what is at home. It is not worth it. I did it. He ended up following me to college. He went to my college. He ended up applying and getting into the school. He enrolled in like 30 Lit 1 classes because he knew I was going to have to take Lit 1 as like a general ed. So to stalk and find me, he enrolled in like 30 Lit 1 classes. And I remember walking in and seeing him sitting front row after we had like eventually broken up my second year and sitting there. And I was like, oh no, this is bad.
Did you switch classes?
man.
No, I think I stuck it out. But I fucking finessed my way. But when people are like, college, like, must have been so hard. No, it wasn't. I was high the entire time. It was a great experience, made me a better person, whatever. But like, it was not a difficult thing to finesse.
Your school
Like,
mascot.
my school, I went to UC Santa Cruz. Our school mascot is a banana slug. Like, people at my school we used to have a trailer park.
Permastoned.
There was a trailer park on my campus
That's
that
crazy.
that was school funded. Like, it would, like,
the
that
UC
was
system, baby.
yeah, like you could one of your dorms could be a trailer park. Like, it was, and at one time my last year there was when they finally took it back from the dropouts, because basically it became like this drug enclave at UC Santa Cruz where like all the burnouts would just go to live, and they'd squat. They like permanently
so
squatted
sick.
in these like old trailers.
I wanted to go there so bad. I didn't go
Really?
to college, but I wanted to go to UC Santa Cruz.
You would have loved it.
Yeah.
Oh, you would have
Yeah, you would
thrived.
have.
I know.
You
I'm
would
sure.
have been.
It's a really pretty place.
Oh my God,
too.
it was.
Gorgeous.
I talk shit about it because that's me, but I loved my experience there. It exposed me to people and communities that I would have never met otherwise. Like, it really expanded my mind, and you got to hike. It's in a national forest. Like
So
Wow.
crazy.
the buildings are ecologically built into a 3,000 acre forest in the Pogonip forest. So like, you have to allocate like 20 minutes or so to get to all of your classes because you are hiking to get to them. And it was the most, and you're surrounded
That's
by the
so cool.
redwoods. Like, it was, I mean, it also brings a level of like mushroom head, wook vibes, people there
Tie-dye.
because
My
tie-dye.
people.
Yeah, your people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
It's like miraculous I'm not a fish head.
I
So
know.
I feel like in an alternate timeline, like that was more. I
Jam
was like a
bands.
Doors girl. Like I was very. I was more like
Yes.
psych rock girl,
Yeah.
like that kind of thing.
yeah.
But in an alternate life, I would have been like jam band
I-
at UC Santa
we
Cruz.
could
Love
Though,
Grateful Dead.
I think you would have had a very similar experience to me in how it would have shifted your ideological perspective, in that it was so far left in so many ways, and in a lot of ways performative, that I think it would have shifted you more middle, if not to the other side, because of that degree.
I'm not familiar with that experience. I've never had that experience before. I don't know what that's like.
And because I just remember being in my classes senior year and like it being such an absolute echo chamber. And I studied legal studies and film, and because I wanted a journalism degree and they didn't have one, so I made one myself. And I remember being in my senior thesis legal studies class, and I got up and like they're all about like everybody express yourself, like what do you want to say on, you know, what do you have to say, what is your truth, like, and we're learning tort law, like nobody needs to know their fucking truth, like read a contract, shut the fuck up. But anyways, they give me the opportunity to get up there, and I'm like, do you all realize like we are all operating in an echo chamber, like everybody here, like we've all said that we're not pro-Trump. We've all said, because this was in 2019, so he was about to run. And, you know, but I was like, I challenge all of you to be open to other people's perspectives so that we can actually have a fruitful conversation and we're not just parroting the same things back and forth to each other. And I distinctly remember, and I was like, and so I want to give somebody else the floor to bring up an opinion that is not something that you hear every day in these classes. And I distinctly remember there was this kid who was like, he was kind of like a nerdy black kid, like very much had like the anime backpack. And he was like, he like raised his hands and he was like, I'm pro-gun. Like, I grew up around firearms. Like, I'm pro Second Amendment. Like, I don't, and he was like, that and everybody in the room's asshole tightens, you can feel. And he looks at all of them. He's like, I'm not going to shoot you guys. Like, what do you, like, I don't have a gun on
Again,
me.
if you don't want people to think you're going to shoot them, don't tell them you're not going to shoot them, because it's immediately what they're going to think you're going to do.
He's like, I'm not armed right now, but I grew up
He's
around,
armed.
yeah. I grew up around firearms.
He's definitely armed.
And that was my experience. So I was like, it definitely changed my perspective.
No, I think that you're absolutely right about that, because there's nothing that bothers me. I used to love thought homogeny because I was like obsessed with the idea of, I don't know, like I think I bought into the idea that the freedom fighters were more that group and that wasn't like the vast majority.
Mm-hmm.
But now thought homogeny really bothers me. It's boring. And it also, I think what happens is if your only argument against somebody that likes something or believes something different from you is you're stupid or you're crazy, you're not flexing any kind of like muscle of how to have a discourse.
No discourse.
I say this to people all the time, people who are super liberal, people who are super conservative, reducing anyone to that of just like, well, then you're an idiot. Yeah. It's like, that takes zero mental effort like if you can actually defeat somebody, it's not even about defeating them, because I don't want to even put it in those terms.
No.
But if you can offer a different perspective, well, you might even change someone's mind.
Definitely.
But just that instinct that we have now to say like you're stupid or like to shut a conversation down, I think is so harmful, because I think a lot of people don't even know what they believe anymore.
No one wants to have conversations.
Yeah, but they're also afraid, I think, to to dive deeper into something. The fear that like not knowing something will seem like you're, like there's now like an issue with being uninformed. Like not knowing something is akin to like being bad. Which
like
is
akin
also
to being like violence.
Yeah, exactly. But then a lot of the time I think that like it's my instinct a lot of the time, as somebody who's struggled with like intellectual insecurity for a long time from not having gone to college and feeling kind of weird about being a writer and everything without that. Now I'm writing a book.
Yeah.
But like it's seeking out information was always a little bit awkward for me, because I always felt anxious about not knowing. So like any of those kind of like those slogans now of like, it's not my job to inform you. Like I would always be like, oh,
I know. I don't like this.
Like I would just shut down. I wouldn't actually go and inform myself. I would just shut down a lot of the time.
Well, I think that's also what we aim to do here at this podcast, is like bringing it full circle, is have conversations, like bring people in who we may have varying opinions, but like we can all make this like a fun environment to hang and chill and laugh and riff and joke. And
we're all human at the end of the day.
Yeah. And I think that's the whole purpose of this. So thank you guys for tuning in. We hope you guys like, comment, subscribe, tell your friends, rate us and write a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And
a good one or an okay one, but not a bad one.
Preferably 5 stars. Let's not even
give
them.
5 stars.
5 stars.
But
don't even give them the option.
But like if you have any critiques, like still give us 5 stars. But like,
DM me on Instagram. We're open. Yeah, we're open to feedback. Yeah. Like we want to hear it, but
we won't murder you.
We won't
murder you. We don't have a gun.
We don't have a gun.
We won't shoot you.
We won't shoot you, but please do write.
Yeah.
a 5-star review.
Alana's book is coming out in November. It's
November.
called Hardly
Strangers.
Strangers.
Hardly Stranger.
We'll see you guys next time. Bye.